Are you thinking of which glacier itinerary to take on your next cruise to Alaska, but can't decide between Endicott Arm and Dawes Glacier or the beautiful Glacier Bay National Park? This video will give you a quick review of which one to consider up next. Hey guys, it's John with Cruising with JT. Hope you're all doing well. And today I'm very excited to give you a quick breakdown of which itinerary to consider for your next cruise to Alaska. And, one of the biggest questions asked is which glacier itinerary should I take? Should it be the one that's on Endicott Arm and Dawes Glacier or the one in Glacier Bay National Park? So let me just first say that I've been to Alaska 7 times on 7 cruises. I've been with Royal Caribbean 5 times and Norwegian twice. And I can tell you one thing for sure is that both glacier itineraries are beautiful, but there are some key differences that you want to keep in mind when it comes to which itinerary is going to give you the closest experience with the glacier. Now you can see here some of these pictures are of Endicott Arm and Dawes Glacier. You'll notice that you don't get really super close unless you take a separate excursion off the cruise line's offerings, right? So you don't really get super close to the glacier on Royal Caribbean's quantum class ships through Endicott Arm and Dawes Glacier. So something to keep in mind, while it's really beautiful and you'll see icebergs and you'll see the glacier in the distance pending there is enough glacial melt. Sometimes cruise ships can't make it into the main inlet or fjord of Dawes Glacier and Endicott Arm and they just don't see the glacier. So something to keep in mind that you're not going to get super close to the glacier, Dawes Glacier specifically through Endicott Arm, unless you take that special excursion, which usually costs about $200 a person and is about 6 hours long. On the flip side, if you take an itinerary to Alaska on Glacier Bay National Park, then you're going to get treated to some amazing glacier views and get really close up and personal to these. Now, of course, you'll see here, this is the Lamplugh Glacier during my last visit in October of 2021 to Glacier Bay National Park. And of course, we got very, very lucky with it snowing that day. The thing about Glacier Bay National Park is that you're not going to be at, higher risk to see, miss the glaciers. Whereas with Endicott Arm and Dawes Glacier, I've been there 4 times and I only made it to the glacier twice. Glacier Bay National Park, I've been there twice and I made it both times. And again, you just get really, really close to the glaciers like I'm showing here on this video footage, right? So this would be an extra cost if you went to Endicott Arm and Dawes Glacier, right? Whereas with Glacier Bay National Park, again, based on which cruise line you go on, most of the time I recommend Norwegian cruise line. You'll get really close to these glaciers without it costing an extra dime. So something to keep in mind. As far as when to go on these cruises, I'll talk a little bit more of that in my upcoming video as well, but really this focus is just which itinerary to take. I do give the slight edge to Glacier Bay National Park, and while I do wish that certain cruise lines like Royal Caribbean went to Glacier Bay National Park, they currently do not. But if I had to pick one today, would I go to Glacier Bay tomorrow, or would I go to Endicott Arm and Dawes Glacier tomorrow? I would pick Glacier Bay National Park just because you get to see multiple glaciers. You get to see Lamplugh Glacier, there's John Hopkins Glacier, and of course you'll get to see Marjorie Glacier as well. And of course the experience, depending on when you go, you might get this amazing footage right here, as you can see, right? The snow and the frozen waters and the ice, it just looks phenomenal, right? So my recommendation is, if you have not yet booked a cruise to Alaska but are thinking about experiencing Alaska for your first time, try to see if you can find an itinerary with Glacier Bay National Park. As amazing as Endicott Arm and Dawes Glacier is, Glacier Bay is actually kind of hard to beat, just because of the views you get and the multiple glaciers that you do see. Like, for example, here's Marjorie Glacier. You got some slow motion action right here, the snow falling that day we went. So it's pretty phenomenal. Hopefully this helps a little bit. But again, I do rank Glacier Bay National Park above Endicott Arm and Dawes Glacier. Bottom line is, if you haven't been to Alaska yet, I highly recommend it. Whether it's Glacier Bay National Park or Endicott Arm and Dawes Glacier, just go. You're going to love Alaska. It's going to give you a completely different perspective and experience when it comes to cruising. And this is one of those bucket list items. So again, if you have not yet gone to Alaska, I highly recommend you go as soon as possible.